Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My topic is to talk about the biographies of three individuals that are masters of tajweed. The first one is Ibn Al Jazai. The second one is Imam Shāṭibī, and the third is Abu Amr ad-Dani. But as you know, I don't talk about the topics that I'm given. I don't want to give their biography because we're all going to fall asleep. I want to talk specifically from the perspective of individuals who have done some work in tajweed and qira'at. The most work that was ever done in tajweed and qira'at, I mean, we all know that the Qur'an was preserved. The first preservation of the Qur'an took place at the time of the Prophet ﷺ. The second preservation of the Qur'an took place at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, where they compiled it. And the third preservation took place at the time of Uthman radiallahu anh. But mainly, I mean, all of these different preservations took place, and in the history of Islam, we find two major preservations. One was at the time of Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, and one was at the time of Uthman radiallahu anh. These were two major preservations of the Qur'an. And of these two major preservations of the Qur'an, we realize that the first person to actually, have this thought to preserve the Qur'an was Umar radiallahu anh, and he approached Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. The stories, you can read them. And now you have Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, who preserved the Qur'an. The first task that he actually did was to preserve the Qur'an during the Battle of Yamama when the Muslims were battling Musaylima. And then after that, then you have the preservation done by Uthman radiallahu anh. However, what's amazing is that Uthman radiallahu anh in the history of Islam is known as the one who preserved the Qur'an, right or wrong. He is known, historically everyone knows, who preserved the Qur'an. Uthman radiallahu anh, that's how he's known. But the first person to preserve the Qur'an was who? Abu Bakr radiallahu anh. Why this, why is this the case? We find that Uthman radiallahu anh, Abu Bakr radiallahu anh initially preserved the Qur'an because of the fact that the Muslims were dying. So the battle was between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. So the non-Muslims were taking over the Muslims and the Huffaz were dying. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh, Umar radiallahu anh, Zayd radiallahu anh got together and they said we should preserve the Qur'an. When Uthman radiallahu anh preserved the Qur'an, the main reason behind this was to protect the seven ahruf. And I'll talk about the seven ahruf inshallah when I give my long lecture. But Uthman radiallahu anh, when he preserved the Qur'an, he did something that no one else in the world could do. And number one, he made a few points. No one in the history of Islam took such a drastic step as Uthman radiallahu anh did. What he did was he ordered the people that I'm compiling the Qur'an over here. Now any copy that anyone else has, you have to burn it. You have to burn it. Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anh and other companions, people that were following him, they did not want to do that. They were against it and they were really upset about it. And Abdullah bin Mas'ud, he basically came out and stood up against them. Uthman radiallahu anh was really strong. He didn't care about anything. He said, this is my principle, I'm going to stick with it. He even told Abu Dharr radiallahu anh to leave the city. Right? He told him, you know what, you're a really good person, but you being here is causing more fitna to the Muslims than anyone else. What Uthman radiallahu anh did is he gathered the whole Muslim ummah who are fighting amongst each other. Muslims are calling each other non-Muslims, kafir, you're this, you're that. Muslims are fighting amongst each other, and he gathered them all onto reciting the Qur'an on the seven ahruf, which we'll talk about. Now, eventually, later on, the concept of the preservation of the Qur'an continued to the A'imma of Qira'at, and you have the 10 Qurra, and all of you all know, that's why you're all here, about the 10 Qurra. But moving forward, there's one individual, and we know him as Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah. He's the famous, the scholar who wrote the book Hisn al-Hasin. The book of Du'as, Hisn al-Hasin. Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah, really famous scholar of tajweed and qira'at. And one thing that Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah did, I'm just going to mention one point about every individual. One thing that Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah did is he took the science of Qira'at that was spreading in the world within the turuq and within the awjuh. Just for the recitation of Imam Hafs, there's 54 different turuq for it. 54 turuq. So Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah says that there's about 980 different turuq for the 10 ways to recite. 980 different ways to recite the Qur'an, if you look at all the different turuq, all the different students and their dialects, etc. What Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah did, he took this huge science and he put it all into one book. He took this huge science, put it all into one book, and this science eventually became known as Ashara Kubra. Because now you study the 10 ways to recite. Now you don't only study Hafs from the more natural way, but the way that's normally taught, but you study Hafs from all the different dialects, all the different every single individual that's talked about it, etc., etc. That's Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah. A great individual, was based in Syria, eventually went to Egypt, and a lot of stuff about him. He is known as Hujjatul Qira'at. He is known as the Madar of Qira'at. Madar of Qira'at basically means, it's like this. If you want to get a fatwa, if I want to get a fatwa from someone, I just go to Mufti Sahab. But if we all want to get a specific fatwa from an individual, all have that one person that we all refer to, right or wrong. We all have that one individual that we refer to in the world. Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah, check this out. He's unanimously agreed upon by all of the Qurra from his time until now, until the Day of Judgment possibly. He is unanimously known as that individual who is going from the time Qira'at was codified until the Day of Judgment. Anytime you have any questions, someone asks me a question, what about this specific rule or this specific idea of Qira'at and Tajweed, the first place I would go look at is what did Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah say about it. That's just normal. That's one thing. Another individual is Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah. Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah, there's two individuals. There's one individual who wrote Al-Maqasid, Imam Shāṭibī, but this is a different person. Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah was blind. He was blind. And what's beautiful about the book Shāṭibī, the famous book, Bada'tu bi Bismillahi fi an-Nadhmi awwala, Tabaraka Rahmanan Rahiman wa Maw'ila. Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah was Arab. Imam Shāṭibī was Spanish. He's from Spain. And Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah, his approach to Qira'at, no one is considered a Qari of Qira'at unless they study their recitation for Imam Shāṭibī's way. The regular that in the Haram. And I blame the Haram for not promoting the Qira'at at all. They stick with Hafs. The way they totally remove the four madhab. They removed the four madhab from Haram, didn't they? Now they stick with one way. I blame them for that also. I blame the Haram. I blame Haram and the ulama over there. I'm not scared to say it. Trust me, I will say it's on YouTube. It's going to go up. I don't care. But I blame all of the ulama living in Saudi Arabia right now for removing the Qira'at. Come on, what's wrong with you guys? But Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah, what we have right now, the normal way of reciting the Qur'an in the world, the way we normally teach, Madd al-Munfasil, Muttasil, etc., everything, when it comes to Tafkhim and Tarqiq and all of that stuff, it's all from the madhab, or basically the approach of Tajweed and Qira'at from Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah. From Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah. He was blind, and one interesting point about his book, for those who have studied the Shāṭibī book, is how Imam Shāṭibī rahimahullah refers to examples in his book. Sometimes, basically, if you were to study Shāṭibī using a dictionary, you would come up with a totally different meaning. And if you were to study Shāṭibī from knowing the science and from a teacher, you get a totally different meaning. For example, Imam Shāṭibī says, وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ. وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ. He says, recite Bismillah between two surahs because it is sunnah. Yes? So this is what normally a normal person would understand. وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْنِ بِسُنَّةٍ رِجَالٌ نَمَوْهَا دِرْيَةً وَتَحَمُّلًا. And this has been narrated by Rijal, the great individuals, Namawha, who are great, Diryatan Tahammula, in regards to seeking knowledge. This is what normal person understands. But then if you take Imam Shatibi's book and you study it from a teacher, you'll realize Imam Shatibi is not saying that at all. He doesn't not even worry about that. He's saying, وَبَسْمَلَ بَيْنَ السُّورَتَيْن, recite Bismillah between two surahs, بِسُنَّةٍ, not because it's sunnah, because it's sunnah is fine, but بِسُنَّةٍ, the letter Ba, بِسُنَّةٍ refers to Imam Qalun. So what he's saying is recite Bismillah between two surahs, which is the recitation of Imam Qalun, Rijalun, Imam Ra, which is Kisa'i, Diryatan, Ibn Kathir, Namawha, Imam Asim, Watahammula. And the letter Waw is known as Waw al-Fasl. Every time in the book Shatibiyah you see the letter Waw, every time in the book Shatibiyah you see the letter Waw, you'll be able to understand that my topic is finished. So if you want to know one topic from another topic, look for the Waw. So you look for the whole thing, you look for Waw here, Waw here. Okay, everything in between is one rule. Another Waw there, everything in between is in one rule. Genius book. And anyone who studied Qira'at al-Ashra, we don't consider them as Qurra unless they've studied Shatibiyah. Because we have to make sure that they go through some type of grinding, like, come on, you don't know, listen, nothing, come on, Qanun. And the last person who, me as an individual, as a researcher, is really, if there was someone in the world that I really wanted to meet, and I would go out of the way to meet this individual, and I would travel the world, is Abu Amr ad-Dani. Orientalists have come up with opinions now. Orientalists have come up with opinions now regarding the Qira'at, saying the Qira'at are wrong, saying there's, na'udhu billah, mistakes in the Mus'haf, saying there's this, and they've come up with opinions now. Abu Amr ad-Dani was such a mastermind, again, not from Egypt, from Spain. Such a mastermind that Kitab al-Masahif was written by the son of Abu Dawood, in which he's mentioned a lot of narrations, that many of them are really weak as well. But Abu Amr ad-Dani's rebuttal to Kitab al-Masahif and Abu Amr ad-Dani's wisdom, or what he has talked about, and the pointers that he's brought up, that have basically challenged the Orientalists before the Orientalists have even come, is mind-boggling. You will be able to understand. For example, Orientalists now are going to claim. Orientalists now, they say that there's possible mistakes in the Mus'haf, and Uthman radiallahu anh didn't preserve it properly. Na'udhu billah. Right? Abu Amr ad-Dani, let me tell you what era he's in. Abu Amr ad-Dani rahimahullah, Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah is, again, about 500-600 years ago. And then Imam Shatibi is before that, about 4 generations before that. Abu Amr ad-Dani is about 5 generations before that. So all the isnad of Qira'at al-Ashra are, we find them through Abu Amr ad-Dani. Most, they go through Ibn Al Jazai, etc. But for Shatibiyah and for Ashra Sughra, you can find that it's not going through Abu Amr ad-Dani. And he basically quotes his chain. I read the whole Qur'an to this person, who read the whole Qur'an to this person, who read the whole Qur'an to this person, who read the whole Qur'an. You have a proper chain of narration. And Abu Amr ad-Dani, you can believe it or not, in the book Al-Muqni, I was reading the book Al-Muqni, right near the end, in one of the chapters, he says, فَإِنْ قِيلَ فِي الْمَصَاحِفِ لَحَنْ. He says, if someone were to say that in the Mus'haf there are mistakes, when did he say this? He mentions this way before Imam Shatibi's time, 4 generations, 5 generations before Imam Shatibi's time. And when did the Orientalists bring it up? Just in the recent 100, 200 years ago. You see what a mastermind this individual is. Not only that, Abu Amr ad-Dani rahimahullah, tajweed issues that individuals, they argue about now, whether you leave the lips open, leave the lips closed, whether you make the ikhfa thick, whether you not make the ikhfa, don't make it thick. Abu Amr ad-Dani rahimahullah tackled every single one of these issues. Just pick up his books, At-Tahdid, Al-Muqni'. Such respect that this individual had, Abu Amr ad-Dani, that he was a researcher. Anything that he's written, it's full of research. Anything that he's written is full of research. And then when you eventually go down, Imam Shatibi rahimahullah, his poem, Hirzul Amani, the famous poem that I talked about, is a summary of Abu Amr ad-Dani's book, At-Taysir. Imam Shatibi wrote a book, Aqila, a summary of Abu Amr ad-Dani's book. Imam Shatibi, most of the books that Imam Shatibi wrote out of respect for Abu Amr Adani, they were all just a summary of Abu Amr Adani's books. Abu Amr Adani, an individual that's, you cannot find such a person when it comes to tajweed and qira'at. Ibn Al Jazai rahimahullah talked about him, used his books, even though he's madar of tajweed, the basis of tajweed. Imam Shāṭibī referred to this individual. And the researchers, if someone wants to do proper research in tajweed and qira'at, you will only find that Abu Amr Adani has talked about these points already. So it's the amazing pointers regarding these three individuals. Remember these names: Ibn Al Jazai, Imam Shāṭibī, and Abu Amr Adani rahimahullah. And eventually, I plan to basically bring in Abu Amr Adani's book as part of the curriculum for Jazriya, anyways. So it'll be really interesting because as an individual, I want to bring in the critical thinking towards tajweed and qira'at, and you don't find such a critic of tajweed and qira'at like Abu Amr Adani, who's basically laid the foundation out for everyone. The whole basis of tajweed is based on it. I guess everything besides the makharij issue, right? Because Imam Shāṭibī and Abu Amr Adani, they believe in 16 makharij, right? As do I. And they also believe that idlaq and ismat are not sifatul huruf. They're basically, they don't even mention those. So it's anyways really interesting points. JazākAllāh Khaiyr. There'll be a topic regarding what certain Orientalists say and stuff like that. Not too much detail, but it'll be really interesting. And I can only ask if you guys can stay behind. JazākAllāh.